The NBA season is finally here, and with it, I'm bringing you guys my opening night scenario, what I like to call my NBA Reborn. And the reason I call it this is because everything about this mode has been adjusted and tweaked with full sliders and settings to get you the best experience possible, because 2K honestly gives us a mode full of depth and features, but they don't test them, and so it ends up being pretty bad at its base. But when we put in a lot of sliders and settings, we can make it be a little bit better. And so I'm going to go through everything you need to know about this scenario, everything that's covered as far as trade sliders, contract sliders, gameplay sliders, settings for progression, the roster edits, the draft class, everything. Next.
And Bonds hits one high. It's a dig. It is out of here. This is caught. Diggs. Sideline. Touchdown. Unbelievable. Bryant for the win. Bang. Watch out. He's got getting away from the top speed. Michael Short.
All right, so before we dive into everything, I just want to take a quick moment to say welcome to the Simgamingnetwork, and thank you for checking out this video. I really appreciate it. If you happen to be new to the channel, if you do me a favor, subscribe. I have a goal. I'm trying to hit 25,000 by the end of the year. Now, I know it's a long shot at this point. Haven't been hitting the pace that I wanted to, but with your help, it can definitely still happen. And that means also if you could like this video, as it tells YouTube, hey, this is a good video to recommend to people who aren't subscribed to the Simgamingnetwork. That really helps my channel grow as well. All right, so now we got that out of the way, I just want to say I have a lot in this scenario and so much that I want to cover. Try to go through it as quickly as possible. I actually made a list on my phone to talk about everything that is important for this scenario, and also some questions you might have and some things you're going to need to do in the off season as far as maintenance for the MyNBA. Also, this is going to be completely downloadable for everyone on Xbox and PlayStation. They unfortunately took away PC crossplay for whatever reason. So PC folks, I'm still figuring out what I'm going to do for you. Because I'm not going to just show everything in this video. That would take forever. So figuring out what I might do screenshots and post in Discord. I'm not sure. But anyway, we're going to go ahead and dive in. So what does this MyNBA Reborn scenario include with it? Well, it has a custom roster. So last year I worked with Celtic LG. I paired up with him for his ATD roster. A couple years before that, I did some a formula or a theory for global tendency and badge edits. Worked really well. I realized last year though that the badges seem to have a really important role in pro play animations, which is what's driving the game nowadays. And so instead of doing an old formula where I just take away a bunch of badges, I started going theory of let's add a ton of badges to players. How do we offset that? Well, for every badge, there's a rating that you could say corresponds with said badge. So every player got a +1 to that particular badge. They got a -10 to the rating that is associated with it. Now I have a spreadsheet for this. I'm going to post it as we talk about that later in the off-season maintenance formula for you guys. But I want to say the plan was to partner up with Celtic LG for his ATD. I actually built the base roster for them several weeks ago, but like the first week the game came out. And they took that and are applying their signature edits, the gear edits. There was a lot of tendencies I didn't touch. They're touching those. And then hopefully not a lot of the badge or ratings, because that would kind of offset everything I did. They do not have their roster ready for opening night. So I wanted to make sure you guys had something. So that's why I am dropping my roster with the global ratings edit, global badge edit, global tendencies edit, and then everything else with it. When Celtic drops their attention detail, everything that's in here should work with that perfectly fine. So I just want to get that out of the way. So in this MyNBA is that custom roster. It also has a draft class. Now, so many people like real draft classes, and there's so many people that make really good draft classes out there, real ones. There's Richie 2K, there's Jodel Kramer. There's 4 or 5 that are just really, really great in the community. For me, the issue is, number one, it's really tough making caps of real players, right? 2K has a full sculpting system, but they need to update it. It has been a while, and so you can't really make people look like them, like real life counterparts. Maybe that's by design, I'm not really sure. Also, so much changes in real life of who's gonna potentially be getting drafted in June, who's gonna play another year, whatever. So much changes throughout the year, it's impossible to keep up. And then you might be in there and be like, oh, this person's not actually gonna be drafted this year, might play another year, and just kind of ruins the experience if that happens to you. And the third thing is names aren't even being said because their names aren't in the system. So talk with my good friend Scorpio Sky about this. He kind of agreed, and so I was like, all right, what I'm going to do is we're going to have a custom fictional draft class that has all the badge edits, all the tendency edits, everything to mesh, but it's going to be fictional. The problem with fictional, like every other draft class, is most people have like 10 players that look really, really good. The rest look like dog water. So Scorpio went through 5 or 6 different fictional draft classes he found, and he copied the DNA of the best looking players and put together a list of 45 of the players in the draft class are going to look really, really good. The other 15 are kind of, what you'd expect. They're second round picks, right? So in this, MyNBA is fictional draft class, but the caps, the players look phenomenal. So yeah, shout out to my guy Scorpio Sky for helping me with this. He did his thing, put together. I took it and then added my stuff to it. So that's in here for you. Of course, if you want to use someone's realistic roster, it's really easy to just swap that out in the game. This also has the playbook edits. So if you didn't know, 2K dropped with a glitch where teams have their playbooks assigned to them, but they don't run the plays. It's really messed up. The way around it is you assign a custom playbook to a team and they'll suddenly run the plays in said playbook. Of course, we want teams to run their specific playbooks. So I went through and edited all 30 teams. You can do this in the main menu, and what you do is you go in and you save the playbook to your console. You go into the coach, you assign a custom playbook, and then you load that team's playbook over it. So I want you guys to know that all 30 teams have their actual playbook in here. However, when you go in here and look, it's going to show for the Cavaliers, it's going to show that they're on custom playbook 4. And if you head over to the Bulls, it's going to show that they're on custom playbook 3, and so on and so on. It's all going to look like it's a custom. However, that is the workaround. So when you actually go in and look at the playbook, when you go to Chicago, you can see it's the Bulls playbook. You have Chicago, Chicago, Chicago. You go to Cleveland, 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 Cleveland. Go over here to Milwaukee, 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 Milwaukee. Philadelphia, you can see Philadelphia in here. This is how it is for all 30. So do not get caught up in the fact that the playbook's names are custom 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That was just the workaround to get this to work. Teams will actually run and execute their playbook now. So that is in this file for you guys as well. What else do we have in here? We have full sim sliders, contract sliders, trade sliders, progression sliders, difficulty sliders for the whole kit and caboodle is in here in a MyNBA upload as well. So this is all going to be included in the MyNBA scenario. I also have a file for it saved as a MyNBA settings, which I'm going to cover at the end of the video with the gamer tag. The reason I did that separately, just like the roster is downloadable outside of here, so is the draft class. Everything's going to be there for you guys to make your own MyNBA if you didn't want to use this file. But the other reason is I want to encourage you guys to maybe consider MyGM. I think it has a lot of potential as far as storytelling goes for a MyNBA, and I'm actually going to hit up my guy Pee Wee the Plug and be like, yo man, MyNBA is the same as it's always been, and you want to tell a story. I think the best way for you to tell a story is to go MyGM. Now that could have a little bit of a negative impact because you can't take control of other teams, so you might run into a snag with the draft, qualifying offers, free agency, etc., etc. But the rest of it, I think, is worth exploring. That's where I'm going to be checking things out as well as my gym. So that's why I'm going to have all that there for you guys. So everything here is included. Now, as far as the sim stats go, I got sim stats in a really, really good spot. The only thing that was a little off for me for team stats were team rebounds were a little bit high. And I didn't understand it because I have realistic shooting percentages. I have realistic shot attempts per game. So how are the rebounds high? Realistic turnovers, like realistic assists, everything was good. I was just like, how are the rebounds so high when there's not, the shot attempts are there, the field goal percentages there, I don't know. Also, there's a couple players that shoot a little bit higher than they do in real life. It's not unrealistic as far as their percentages. It is higher than what they personally shoot, but it is within the realm of realistic. I don't know. It is what it is. The thing is you have a fine line between simulation and playing the game, and tendencies and ratings and badges impact both of them equally. So it's one of those things that's just really tough to balance, but I think I did a pretty good job for you guys there. Contract sliders, I think they are in a really good spot as well. However, guys, if you need to, just go in and tweak a little bit here, not the salary cap or the inflation rate, but you can play around with this a little bit. If you're like, hey, this guy should be worth this, man, just play around with a couple things here. Or you can also do the little trick of turn the negotiated contracts off, and then you can assign a guy to any team and put whatever contract you want on him. This is a great tool to use if, like always, CPU doesn't know how to manage their money and they should be having a guy on their roster. They just don't have money for it. You can put that guy on their roster and put the contract that they should be having on there this way. It's a good little hack, I guess you could say. Now we're going to talk about the roster. So the roster has, like I said, global tendency edits, global ratings edits, global badge edits. You don't need to do anything with the ratings ever again. That's all done. There is 2 tendencies that you need to maintain every advance from one season to the next, and then some badge cleanup. And I am going to throw the formula that I have up on the screen for you guys right now as we talk about the tendency. So the first one I want to talk about is every single year after you advance. Keyword after. Excuse me. After you advance, you need to go in to all players. Set the touch tendency to 0. This plays so fantastic. Celtic was a big fan of it. He's adopting it. Players will gain touch tendency year over year. Just go in, go to the column, put it all down to 0. There's one other tendency that we are going to do this with. And I'm going to explain why as soon as I can get to it. Went too far. It is going to be the dish to open man. So this is one that I played around with last year. Here it is. This has a huge impact on assists in the sim stats, right? Gameplay wise, I feel like the CPU plays so much better when dish to open man is at 0. Can't have it at 0 when you want realistic sim stats for assists. So the workaround to that is all players get 40, and I came up with 40 this year because looking at it, the majority of players were between 25 and 45 anyway. 40 seems like a really good place to put it. Also got really good sim stats, so that's why we're there. When you play a team, so if you're going to play the Nuggets, just scroll over, or we'll just do the 76ers. Just scroll over to the 76ers and drop the whole team down to 0. Save it, play your game. Once you're done playing the 76ers, go back in, put the tendency back up to 40. Takes 30 seconds. Now, when you go ahead after each season, set every single player to 40, so that you're only playing one team at a time, right? It may take half a season before you play a team. We want them their players to be at 40 for dish open man for the sim stat aspect of it. Next, we're going to talk about badge. So I have some global badge edits, right, that we are doing. There are a couple badges that are removed and must stay removed from players every single year. And then there are badges that every single player needs to have at minimum at bronze, and then there are badges that are, some players will have them, some players won't. Perfect example, Aerial Wizard, Ankle Assassin, these are not a globally edited badge, so you can see some players have them, some people don't. Bailout, this is one of the 5 badges that cannot be in the game. 100% needs to be removed. Strong Handles, Immovable Enforcer, Unpluckable, Pogo Stick, Bailout. These are the 5 that are absolutely going to get removed. When you advance from year over year, players will gain Bailout. So you just need to go in here, edit the whole column, just remove it all. Now we have a lot of badges that every single player needs to have at minimum on bronze. Box Out Beast, Break Starter, Brick Wall Challenger, etc. I'm not going to go through the whole thing right now. Got it up on the screen for you guys. We'll post it in Discord as well. What'll happen is, we got Jokic right here. You can see he's got a couple bronze badges, right? That's pretty telling that he did not have glove, handles for days, or challenger initially. Okay, he got that because I did a +1. To keep the gap between all the players who already had the badge and the ones gaining it, every player got a +1 when I did it. You are not going to do that. When you are in an off-season or advancing, we are not just going to say Jokic lost challenger, right? So we're going to show you exactly what it would look like here. You are in an off-season. You come in here, Jokic lost challenger. You need to get him challenger. You can't do just a +1, right? A +1's going to give him bronze, but it's going to give Shai Gilgeous Hall of Fame, Kevin Durant silver, right? All those things. We don't want to do that. Instead, what you're going to do is you are going to give everyone a -1. So this is a perfect example here. Shai Gilgeous has it at gold, Kevin Durant has it at bronze, Jokic doesn't have it at all. If you go ahead and do a -1 here, and then you do a +1, boom. Jokic now has bronze, Shai still on gold, Kevin Durant's back on bronze. That is the trick. And that is what you are doing for all the badges that need to be added to players every single year at minimum on the bronze level. Again, you only have to do this when you advance from season over season. Next, we're going to talk a quick minute. We're not touching any ratings, but there is one that you guys get to play around with. Maybe you've heard about me talk about the Intangible rating for a lot of years. I've done a global Intangible edit where the top 15 players were 99, then the next 10 were 75, then the next 15 or 10 were 50, right? Just to get a difference in the top player rated players. With this formula, you don't have to do that. In fact, Intangible is now free for you guys to use to get some good balance in your roster year over year. And I encourage it because there are going to be players that you think should be bumped up a little bit. And there's going to be players like, yo, he's too high. I need to bring him down just a little bit. You now have the freedom with the Intangible to do that. So after every season, pop in, go through the roster, look at the makeup of all 30 teams, look at the players, and there might be a couple players you're like, hey, they're too high, might be a little bit low. Play with the Intangible. Remember, the difference between a 99 and a 25 Intangible is 5 overall. So you do have some leeway there. And I think this is a great tool for you guys to use to help maintain balance. And again, with the progression and regression issues that 2K has, you're definitely going to need to use that to keep your roster from overinflating. That's just it is what it is. So anyway, we're going to exit out of here. That's the off-season roster aspect you need to do. The other things you're definitely going to want to maintain or keep an eye on with the CPU is how they draft. So I recommend setting up the CPU's draft board for them so they don't draft players at positions that they don't need to draft. It makes a lot more sense. Also help them out with qualifying offers, help them out with picking up options or declining them. And free agency part, they actually do a pretty good job other than rescinding players in moratorium. Make sure they don't do that. Otherwise, you don't have to do too much work with the CPU for free agency. But the other steps, you just need to kind of hold their hand a little bit. 2K apparently doesn't test this at all. Made a video on it last year. Had my guy Soft Drink TV help out, spread the word, make a video on it as well. So you still need to do those things. Now, I already talked about MyGM. I'm not sure how that's going to work in MyGM. We cannot take control of other teams in MyGM, so that might actually make that mode irrelevant. I don't know. I'm still going to try it out. I'm going to play with it. See if I have anything else that I am missing here. Yeah, the final thing is this scenario does have gameplay sliders included. The gameplay sliders are not 100% finished. I'm literally finalizing one aspect, and it just needs more time, right? When you're focusing on one particular metric in the game, you can't base it off of one game or two. You need a couple games played, and ideally a couple different people giving feedback, so you can just dial in and say, all right, this is how it is overall, this is the experience, and we'll lock in. So once the gameplay sliders are finished, I will drop that slider video. I do have the sliders uploaded in here for you. Just know they're not 100% finished. Keep an eye out for when I do drop the sliders officially. You'll be able to download that and update it. So how do we go and get everything? So we'll go through that right now. It's all under my gamertag. If you do not want to use the scenario, you want to make your own, you can just search, I have the MyNBA sliders uploaded. It is under my gamertag. SGN MyNBA sliders is the name. It's under Simgamingnetwork. Okay, that's just the settings. That is not the scenario. We're not going to talk about the gameplay sliders, like I said, because they're not finished. The scenario. Okay. MyNBA Reborn. Under gamertag Simgamingnetwork. That is what you're going to want to grab. We're going to back out to the main menu here. Well, I better just to be safe here. Autosave's turned on. All right. And if you want to download the roster, so you're going to go here. For the main roster, you're going to search my gamertag, and it's SGN Global Edits. Do not confuse it with SGN ATD. This is the roster I told you that I uploaded for ATD to grab and work with. The one that you're grabbing right now is more up to date. It's going to be SGN Global Edits. And then for the draft class, if you want the draft class, you're going to go and search SGN Fictional Draft 1 under my gamertag, Simgamingnetwork. Alright guys, so that is everything. I really hope you guys appreciate this. This took a lot of time and effort, and still more work needs to be done, but I think this is going to give you guys a really good experience with NBA 2K26 and MyNBA or MyGym, whatever route you choose to go. Please let me know what you think in the comment section below. Otherwise, stay tuned to the next one, y'all. Peace.